Hi students, we're going to begin by checking our warm-up problems. So looking at number 1, this is our only new one that we have for today. To solve a system, you have a couple choices. Maybe remember substitution or the elimination method. I'm going to do substitution today, and then next time we can try the elimination so you can remember both of them. For the substitution method, I can take one of the equations and substitute it in for y, because this is equal to y. So I'm going to replace the x minus 3 for the y in the other equation. Now I am just going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract x and add 9, and x is 2. To get the y variable, all I have to do is take the 2 and plug it in for one of the x's. It's easiest to plug it in right here. You could plug it in here as well, but it looks easier to plug it there. And I get -1. So now I know that these two lines will cross. I'm looking for the intersection of those two lines. They will cross at the point 2, -1. I can check my solution by plugging in this for x and this for y in both equations, and it should equal each other. So that's a review of the substitution method from Algebra 1. All right, we've been completing the square in Unit 3, so this is a little review. Remember, you're going to kick the c out, kick out the c, and divide out the a, because I want a to be 1. So I'm going to divide by 2 and divide by 2. Now I'm looking for that magic number. Take the b, oh, I left off my x, half it, square it, and I get 4. All right, so really, not 4. How much did I really just add to my equation? I really just added 8 to my equation. So to balance it out here, I need to subtract 8. All right, rewrite your equation, drop down the a. The square we just created was x plus 2, and combine your like terms. Last one, plug in, not the last one. Last one I'm going to do with you. Plug in ABC, b squared minus 4ac. We're going to simplify from here. So 4 squared is 16. 12 times 6 is 72, and I see 2 negatives. So this is going to give me a positive 72. So when I add this up, I get 88. All right, now I'm trying to reduce that radical. I'm looking for the largest perfect square that will divide into 88. What is a perfect square that will divide into 88? Well, let's try 4. 4 times 22 is 88. The square root of 4 is 2. And so square root of 22 is left. Is there a perfect square that will divide into 22? There's not. 4 doesn't go into 22. 16 doesn't go into 22. No perfect square divides into 22. So I know that I've reduced as far as I can. All right. Factoring is our entire lesson today, so I'm going to skip this problem for now. I would like you to come back and solve this problem after we have done our notes today. But at the end of the day today, you should be able to conquer this problem, okay? So we are going to begin factoring today, and this is probably one of the most important skills that you will learn in Algebra 2 because you're going to be using it the rest of the year. And we're going to be continuing factoring in 4.2, so you're going to get lots of practice of this. But the first step always with factoring is to factor out the GCF, and we've been practicing the GCF. But I want you to look at all the terms and decide what is the largest thing I can divide all these by. That's your first job. So I would like you to pause the video and work with your group on finding the GCF. I'm going to do the first example with you so you know where I'm headed. So when I look at this, I see that I have a 3 that could divide into both of them. I could divide both of these by x squared, and I could divide both of these by y. Okay, so that's my greatest common factor. Now I'm going to divide to see what's left. This divided by this is 2. X squared divided by x squared is 1, so I don't need to write that. And y divided by y is 1. Minus 3 divided by 3 is 1. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. Y divided by y is 1, and z. Now, you should be able to distribute this back out and get your original answer. So check your work. 3x squared times y times 2 is 6x squared y. This times this is this. So that's how you can double check to make sure you did it right. Okay, pause the video and work the next 3 examples with your partner. I hope you are taking really good notes today because I don't usually check your notes, but since I'm not there today, I am going to be looking at your notes. And if you have really good notes, I'm going to give you extra points on your homework. So make sure your notes are fully filled out and you're following along with this video. So you should have found the greatest common factor for each of these. My greatest common factor here was negative 2xy squared. And then I divided to see what was left. In the third one, my greatest common factor was just 2. That was the only thing I could divide all 3 of them by. So I put 2 out front, and then I divided to see what was left. In the last one, my greatest common factor was 13m squared, and then I divided to see what is left. So the reason I decided to begin with finding the greatest common factor is this will always be your first step. From now on, when we're factoring, the first thing you will always do, ask yourself, is there a GCF? That's going to be your first step. So now we're going to begin factoring. So here is my example here, and I'm going to look, do I have a GCF? There's no GCF. There's nothing I can divide all 3 of these by. So sometimes you don't have a GCF, but we're always going to ask that question first. Now remember, I've been telling you that today is the day I want you to decide which method you like better. Do you like the box method better, or do you like the grouping with the parentheses better? So you're going to be choosing that today. I'm going to refresh your memory on those 2 versions real quick, and then you're going to decide. For everybody, your first step is to brainstorm 2 numbers that multiply up to AC. A times C is 12. So A times C is 12. Can you see that AC? A times C is 12. Okay, so that's your first step. Some of you guys like doing this in a T-chart, which is totally fine, but make yourself a way to brainstorm. I usually do an X to brainstorm. So when I brainstorm the numbers that multiply to 12, I know 1 times 12 is 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Those are all the things that multiply up to 12. Now I want to find the combination of numbers that's going to add to the B, which is negative 8. So I'm going to look at those numbers, and keep in mind I can make them negatives or positives, but what pair is going to add to negative 8? Well, when I look at 2 and 6, if I make both of them negative, they will together add to negative 8. So check your answer. Negative 2 times negative 6 is 12, and negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8. So those are my 2 numbers that I'm going to use to split my middle term. So what I mean by that is 3n squared. Negative 8n is going to become negative 6n and negative 2n. Now I have the 4 terms that we've been factoring with in the warm-up. So those are the 4 terms that I will use. Those of you that are doing the box, you're putting those 4 terms in the box. Negative 6n and negative 2n and the 4. Students will ask me, well, what if I switch these around? It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you choose, as long as you put your n's in these 2 corners, it doesn't matter which order you put them in. You'll end up with the same answer. All right, so let's run through grouping. If you're grouping, you're looking for the GCF of these first two terms, which is 3n, and then we're going to divide to see what's left. That will be n minus 2. Then I'm looking for the GCF of the second 2, negative 2. And then I'm going to divide to see what's left. Notice these parentheses match. Remember, that was a requirement. These two parentheses have to match. That's going to be one factor. Pull out the GCF from each set of parentheses. Okay. I think I skipped a step here, but it's okay. And then 3n minus 2 is the other factor. All right, so that's the grouping steps. If you're doing the box method, remember you're looking for the GCF of each row and each column. So the GCF here is 3n. The GCF here is just n. The GCF here is -2. GCF here is also -2. I should be able to multiply everything to get the inside. So n times 3n is 3n squared. N times -2 is -2n. 3n times -2 is -6n. N times -2 is -2n, and -2 times -2 is 4. Okay, so the factors are n minus 2 and 3n minus 2. So notice we got the same answer in the end. It doesn't matter which method you choose. I just want you to pick one that makes the most sense to you. Okay? All right, so our purpose for this entire first unit, this whole unit 4, is finding these 2 points right here. These 2 points are so important that they have many different names. They can be called solutions. They can be called roots. They can be called zeros. Or maybe they could just be called x-intercepts. But all of Unit 4 is going to be methods on how to find where is that parabola crossing the x-axis. And we're going to learn 4 different ways to find those points because there is lots of different ways to find it. And sometimes one method is better than the other, and sometimes some methods don't even work. Factoring doesn't always work to find the roots. But it is the fastest method, so we usually start there. So whenever we find the factors, let's say I had factored this, and I'm just going to tell you the factors this time. The factors for this are x minus 6 and x plus 2. Okay, once we find the factors, and we're going to practice this a lot more in just a minute. But the reason finding the factors are helpful is because if I know the factors, I can use the zero product property to help me find these solutions. Because what the zero product property says is if I know that one of these is 0, like if one of these parentheses is 0, then that means that my y value is 0. I'm trying to find where y is 0 here. So to find the solutions, if I set x minus 6 equal to 0 and x plus 2 equal to 0, I can find the solutions. So if I solve for x here, I get 6 and -2. And look, it's crossing at 6 and -2. Okay? So all I do is once I find my factors, I set my factors equal to 0, and that will be my solutions. So that's our goal today, is to factor to find the solutions of a quadratic. That's what we're going to be practicing today. All right, pause the video, turn to your partner and tell them what is the goal today. What are we trying to do? All right, you should have decided which method you are going to work with today. Either you're doing the box method or grouping. I'm going to alternate between those 2 methods, but remember we should end up in the same place. So I'm going to begin with the box on this one. Everybody is going to begin by brainstorming with the x though. We are looking for 2 numbers that multiply up to AC, so that'll be -18, and adding to 3. So go ahead and brainstorm those 2 numbers. You're brainstorming what multiplies to 18, and we will come back in just a minute. Click on part 2 of this video.